Hi everybody, this is Greg Tanner for The Mindful Eye and the Daily Critique. I want to say a big happy Thanksgiving to everybody who's listening today, and also just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for being here and for being a part of the Mindful Eye community. I wanted to look at a group of images today that I like a lot. They came from submissions for the photo of the week or the Daily Critique, and mainly wanted to just talk about what I like about these images and look at the metadata and the backstory and maybe a couple of suggestions for variations, but for the most part just hoping that we can all get some inspiration from these photographs and from these photographers. So get right into it here. This first image was submitted by Murray, who's an advanced photographer from Texas, and the backstory on this one is Murray says he was at the Antique Rose Emporium near Independence, Texas. He first saw a pot of flowers on a table, then he saw this bug flying around. He said the pattern of the bug's flight made him think of the pattern on the back of this ice cream parlor chair. That's the subject that's out of focus in the background. And then the bug landed in the flower and seemed like it was going to be there for a while. Murray got out a long zoom, put on a 1.4 tele extender, and was shooting on a camera that has a crop factor. So the effective focal length here ends up being well above 300 millimeters. And Murray said he wanted to work with shallow depth of field, kind of at one time juxtapose these ideas and then sort of show off the rhythm, particularly between the bug and these shapes in the background. And I'm really enjoying all of this that sort of Murray described in the backstory. I love the flow of focus here. I love the way the flow of focus is helping the flower to separate, along with very saturated color and very warm color, and then more of a cool color in the background. Really great separation in terms of a difference in shapes, and then real neat as far as this rhythm that's happening. I love the way a lot of these lines bring me over towards the main subject. That's really beautiful. And the quality of light here looks really beautiful. Murray said it was overcast, but there's still a feeling of flow to the light, particularly on the flower. You get this area up in here that's sort of a highlight, and that moves more towards a darker area. That creates a lot of form and dimension in the main subject. I could see a variation here where Murray maybe made this area up here darker, the corner darker. It sort of kind of created a little bit of a vignette and kind of almost a gradient that was one more thing that moved us towards the flower. Really beautiful sort of semi-macro shot about juxtaposition and rhythm. This next image was submitted by John, and John's an intermediate photographer, and John says that he's been working on a series of photographs focusing on the American flag. He took this one at Riverview Cemetery in Westerly, Rhode Island on a foggy morning in June, shot with a Nikon D80 using an 18-200 VR lens. I remember seeing this image on the Mindful Eye community, and boy, I really loved it. It's a very conceptual image. By that I mean that I look at the image and I like it just for what it is in terms of intrinsic form and intrinsic ideas, but then to me it starts to make me think of a lot of other things, and very conceptual on a lot of different levels for me. I mean, the cemetery is such a powerful archetype for so many different reasons. A flag is such a powerful archetype. Then you have the flag on tangent with the statuary in the cemetery that looks almost like the Statue of Liberty. And I know for me, looking at this image at this point in time with all the challenges that we're facing around the world and in the United States, it's made me think about that sort of. One of the things that popped into my mind almost immediately looking at this is sort of like decline of an empire or something like that. Who knows what other people are thinking about when they look at this, but I guarantee you this is the kind of image that does make people think about other things. The photograph becomes a metaphor for other ideas. And the other thing that I love about this image is the treatment. It not only to me goes along conceptually with the type of time that looking at an image from a cemetery can suggest, or just getting us to consider time on a lot of different levels. This treatment also is helping the image just from a visual design standpoint. It might be easy to imagine in the fog this area up here becoming very, very flat and kind of running out of texture, and maybe this becomes overwhelming. But with this treatment, it almost looks like this has been printed from a glass negative. The texture up in here really helps to tie the top and the bottom part of the image together. And I also really love the monochrome here. I think monochrome images have the potential to allow us to have more of an emotional experience, because colors carry their own emotional baggage, and we get rid of those we can start to project more of our own feeling onto the image. Very, very powerful image. And boy, what a change we're about to have here. Um, this image is just so whimsical. The colors are amazing. That's one of the things that draws my eyes. This also just has a lot of things to me about this that is kind of surreal juxtapositions. This one was submitted by Michael, who's an intermediate photographer, and the backstory is that Michael says this is his wife, who is a professional clown, and she was going to a clown gig, and he loved the colors on this particular wig, and he said he was looking for some circles in the background to rhyme both the ball and the wig and the face paint. And let's see, Michael says he shot this with a Canon 40D, 24-70 zoom at ISO 100. He shot at 50 millimeters on the zoom, was wide open at f2.8, and exposed the file for a 60th of a second. I do love the rhythms in this one. I get that almost immediately. All of these circles in the hair, the eyes are real dominant, the glasses, the face painting here, even the shape of the mask of the face, the ball, and then the bokeh back here, these out of focus circles of light. The other thing that's really fascinating to me about this image is that, there's something immediately surreal about the idea of clown. And then when you look at the background, there's a rhythm, but there's also sort of a crazy juxtaposition. You have all this color, and you have this color back here. There's so much color here that just about any color over here could potentially harmonize with this. What's really interesting is that it's a version of some kind of tertiary kind of blue-green, and it complements the ball. So the ball separates, but then right away, very near that, you have the rhythm. But you have this weird juxtaposition where this is so muted, sort of blue-green, that this almost starts to look monochrome back here. It almost looks like an X-ray of something or a photogram of something. And that kind of adds to the surreal feeling that starts off with just the idea of a clown. And then the other thing to me that's really surreal about this is you have this real sort of smooth, very, very colorful, surreal idea here of the mask of the face being painted and all the color. And then the hand here just looks completely ordinary. And the only thing that I would say about this one is I love using a split focus technique where I'm shooting wide open like this. Michael's really close here. 50 millimeter lens has some inherent depth of field. The wider we go, the more depth of field we can imply. But when you get really, really close with any lens, that starts to have an effect on depth of field. And this is one we're shooting wide open. I love to do a split focus technique where I might focus here, then focus here, keeping the camera in relatively the same place and then combining those layers. I think it would be really cool if the ball and the tips of the fingers were sharp in this image. Nonetheless, it's just a small detail that I'm mentioning there. Very cool image that I like a lot on a lot of different